Welcome to the Early Wedge Tuesday Best Bet Show. I am your host, Eric Cohen. It's one of the tournaments of the year, the U.S. Open, my favorite tournament of the year. I can't wait to bet this weekend. And you know what? If you watch this show on a weekly basis, you're making money. If you follow our picks, you're making money. Let me show you why. Sia and Patrick last week. Patrick hits Ryan Fox outright. Patrick's on a ridiculous run. But you know what? Sia, who wasn't even on the show last week, decided to give his picks. He's hit 6 outright winners this year, including a 50-1. In the without Rory market. I mean, Sia, that's unbelievable. Let's welcome him back to the show. We have, of course, Jason Sobel, who's on SiriusXM, BetMGM, CBS Sports, and just about every other media outlet. We'll get to him in a second. But Sia, welcome back. We missed you last week. You are on an unbelievable hot streak. You and Patrick. Just tell us, Ryan Fox, how'd you do it?
It's been fun. I mean, listen, I've been targeting Ryan Fox over the last few weeks, and I may be targeting him again this week, whether it's in the matchup market or maybe you'll find out in the long shot market. But happy about this pick. I'm not as happy as Patrick McDonald, who got it at 70-1. But, you know, Jason Sobel and I hit Carl Phillips at 70-1 not too long ago. So, yeah, this is a really good run. And just so everybody knows that might be new to the show, it's not like each of us are putting out, 6 or 7 outrights per week, right? We've got usually 3 and then, a couple of long shot sprinkles, or at least that's what I usually have. So I think this is really impressive for the show. I mean, for me, some of the matchups and some of the finishing positions, I think I can do a little bit better, but this is a nice little board here. Thanks to Matt for putting it together.
Yeah, producer Matt does a great job every week. Patrick McDonald, for those who asked Joe in the chat, he is out at Oakmont, so he's doing all kinds of CBS Sports things. Check out his picks at cbssports.com. Yet another person that we know is out at Oakmont, one Jason Sobel, because he's obviously working the event. Sobel, just looking at this, first of all, looking at this graphic, I mean, this crew in general has killed it this year. And your picks, you've hit what, 4 or 5, something like that already?
Not that many, not as many as Sia and Patrick, but and Issa, you've done a great job too.
Yeah.
Look, I think what Sia said right there needs to be emphasized, because there are a lot of people, we see it on social media, they know who they are, they'll put out their picks, and it's 9 of the top 12 on the odds board. Here's who I like this week. Here's who I'm betting. Invariably, one of them wins the golf tournament, and then it's, look at me, another winner. Put it up for me. You lost money. There's no way the ROI was positive for the week, but okay, sure, you picked a winner. So I love the fact that we limit the number of plays that we have on this show, usually 2 outrights and maybe 1 or 2 long shots, depending on how we feel that week. But that is a lot of winners for not making a whole lot of picks. I feel like we should continue to emphasize the fact that we ain't those guys.
Can I make a follow-up point there too? I mean, one thing when I'm putting out bets, and I think everybody should consider this, and I know everybody on this show considers it. And we're not really trying to pat ourselves on the back in terms of like, hey, we're so good at these outrights. But I do want people to understand that I am putting stuff out with the expectation that those who are listening, if they want to, if they actually like the pick, can bet it. And I think what Jason is alluding to is like, there's no way if you have like an 8-person board for outrights, and this is not a criticism of those people in that they do it, but they can't expect their listeners or their followers to make all of those bets too. So when I'm putting out bets, whether it's outrights or matchups, I'm doing it with the expectation that those who like the pick will actually make the bet. And if you're putting out 7 or 8 outrights or whatever it is, you got to think, hey, maybe some people aren't making all of those picks. Then again, maybe they're just selecting the ones they like. I'm not really sure. But again, that's just my frame of reference.
It's kind of embarrassing in looking at this graphic that's on screen that I have a plus 800 on here, albeit it was from Liv, so is what it is. And Joaquin Neiman's won 4 times. But like, I feel like that should be thrown off this board. So because I'm not like, all right, Ben Griffin the other week was great, and Justin Rose FRL was great, but like, I'm not worthy of these bombs that you guys, Sobel, you dropped Ryan Fox in Myrtle Beach at 40-1. Sia, you dropped Ryan Fox last week at 50-1. Patrick's dropping 66-1 and 70-1 outrights the last 2. Like, I'm not worthy of 8-1 being on this board. But the other thing is, we're not picking Scotty Scheffler either. Like, we could put Scotty Scheffler up at plus 275, but what good is that going to do? Like, we're trying to go in the without Scotty market. Like, that's where we're focused this week. Go ahead, Sobel.
I will tell you, EC, right now, Scotty Scheffler is my pick to win this week. I think Scotty Scheffler wins the golf tournament. I will not give you Scotty Scheffler as an outright pick as we continue this show, because it's not worth it. What are we going to do? Bet him at plus 275? I'll have some plays in the without Scotty market. I'm not going too far down the board, but for that very reason, because I don't want to come back next week, Scotty wins and go, hey, look at me. I picked the number one player in the world to win at the hardest golf course in the world. I'm trying to think of you guys who are watching and listening as bettors, not just trying to, throw another notch on my belt with another pick.
Yeah.
No, listen, I have a Scotty pick, but it's also a 40-1 parlay that's later in the show because that's how you got to play Scotty this week. That's what you got to do. Hey, Lori says in the chat, you guys are crushing it. I've cashed for $500 profit several weeks. That is fantastic.
Awesome.
And we appreciate that. Let's do it again this week and start with storylines. All right, I want to start here. Number one, Sobel. I saw this video from the DP World Tour that said, what would an 18 handicap shoot? Now, I am an 18 handicap, 17.7 to be exact. I'm not a far hitter off the tee. I hit it about 230, 240 on a good day. Fairly straight, albeit the driver can get awkward. My QI10 can get away from me here. Mm-hmm. What am I shooting on this course realistically?
So you have something in common with Rory McIlroy, at least, that your QI10 will get away from you once in a while.
Mine's not illegal, though.
Oh, wow. We don't know that. Has it been tested? I don't think he went through the testing from the USGA yet. So Rory's got a legal one in his hands, I believe, this week. It is conforming. Look, there are all sorts of different 18 handicaps. There are different 10 handicaps. So I always sort of blanch this question when it's like, what would an 18 shoot? Because you've played with 18s and you might have a good day. You might have a bad day. It might be an 18 handicap who mashes it off the tee but can't putt from 2 feet away. Might be an 18 handicap who hits it 150 off the tee but keeps it in play and has a decent short game. So there's all different types of players. From what you just described, playing from the tips at Oakmont, keeping track of everything. I mean, we are keeping full score.
Yep, I always do.
I would say you average about 8.5 to 9 strokes per hole.
Yeah.
Puts you at somewhere in the 150 to 160 range, quite honestly. I mean, I know it sounds awful, but like there's going to be 150. There's going to be times when you hit one in the rough, and if you find the ball, you hit it and it goes 2 yards and it's still in the rough. And now you try to just get it out to the fairway and you get it out there, but you hit your next one, it goes back into the rough. The bunkers are going to get you. You're going to be in a bunker at some point, and it's going to take you a few to get out. And then by the time you get done hitting all these shots, you've got to get to the green, actually putt these greens. These are the hardest greens in the absolute world to make any putts on. They are so fast. There were videos out today just from the practice green of John Rahm hit a putt literally a foot, and it turned left and rolled about 40 feet down the hill. I mean, it is unbelievable how fast these greens are. So you think like, hey, that was pretty good. I got there in 4. That's not bad. I'm on the green. Okay, I can exhale. And then all of a sudden, here comes a 4 putt.
So Alex, who was out there, saw Patrick. He mentioned in the chat. He didn't say hi because Patrick was, schmoozing with the bigwigs. We know that. But he said there are some holes that a 15 handicap wouldn't reach the start of the fairway from the tips.
Great point.
I mean, is this good for the game of golf when it's this hard, in your opinion?
I guess it depends on what we actually see over the weekend or over the next 4 days. I don't know. I think it's good. So listen, we have tournaments every single week, basically, with the exception of, a couple of months. I think it's good to have this type of variance where you've got these just extremely difficult courses, but you do want good shots to be rewarded and frankly, good putts to be rewarded. So I do think that would be my pushback is like, we don't want it to be like a situation where you hit a good shot and it just kind of doesn't matter. And we've seen tournaments like that before. So, I mean, I don't think it's bad for the game. I think this is interesting, but I do think there's a point where it gets actually kind of ridiculous. And I'm not here to we don't know yet whether that's actually going to happen or not. But it sounds like it could. I mean, the rough is ridiculous. Jason, go ahead. It's not going to.
There's nothing unfair. I think it's Shinnecock who's the last time we heard players whining about it being quote unquote unfair conditions. We're not going to see unfair conditions. We're just going to see really difficult conditions.
And I love that.
And I think that's a point to be made that, this isn't going to be one where the players are coming in saying they can't do that. They lost that green. That was terrible. They're going to come in and go, whew, that was really, really tough. And they know it's going to be really tough coming in. Can I give you, EC, a preliminary, an early Sobel story?
Let's go. Oh yeah, please. Let's do it.
Okay. So 9 years ago, before the 2016 US Open, I was doing some due diligence on Oakmont, spoke with a few members for a story I was working on, and one of the members happened to invite me to come play. And I said, well, it's a month before the U.S. Open. When am I going to go out there? I'm, not really in the area. And I said, I'm covering the Memorial Tournament. Maybe I could play hooky on that Wednesday and come out. He goes, oh, that would be perfect. I think we can do it on Wednesday. We have the SWAT. You can come play in the SWAT. For those who don't know, look it up. The SWAT has been around for over 100 years. It's Oakmont's member game. You can get in. The way we did it that day, which is, I believe, the way they do it pretty much every day, it's 60 players in the game, 12 5-man teams. They give every team an A, B, C, D, and E. Our A player was a Division I golfer. Our B player was a senior club champ. C player was a Division III golfer. I was the D player. I'm a 7 right now, or a 6. I was probably about the same. Maybe I was an 8 then. And our E player was like a 10. I mean, he wasn't a 36 handicap hacking it around. He was still a guy that could get it around on a normal golf course. And so you've got bets. You've got a $40 bet against all 11 other teams. You've come in last, you can lose $440 in an afternoon. All of that said, it's one scratch ball for the score. So what that means is there's no handicaps that are on. Everyone's playing gross, and you only need one score on each hole. So as long as somebody makes a par on the first hole, okay, my bogey doesn't matter anymore. We can move along. So I don't even think I really kept my own score. It was really more for the team. So we go out there and we finish up and we make 3 birdies and a bogey. We shoot 2 under, gross 1 score as a team. And I turned to one of the guys we're playing with and I go, well, I guess we're losing some money today. And he said, no, absolutely not. He said, that's a good score, 2 under. 2 under for 1 gross ball was 3rd place for the day. We made some money that day. I spent it all in the pro shop 10 minutes later. But I love that story because if you go to any other course in the world and play 1 gross ball in a scratch game like that, you're looking at, I don't know, 6, 8, 10 under. If you've got good players like we did, 2 under, including a bogey, won us money that day.
That's incredible. I mean, that is something, especially also people cheat in these type of events too, with Mulligan. Don't even get me started. Not at Oakmont, do that. All right, see, let's get to storylines. And I think yours is really an interesting one in terms of what do we prioritize off the tee, especially accuracy or distance?
Yeah, I think we all know at this point in the week that off the tee is a major point of emphasis, if not the point of emphasis. I think the bigger question at this point, or at all points, is it going, like, if you have to favor one, and when you're looking at certain golf profiles, whoever you're looking at, some guys have better accuracy than distance and vice versa. And then there's like the cheat code guys that if they're on their A game, they've got both, right? Scotty Scheffler, the best example of that, but Ludwig, Xander, like obviously those guys at the top can all do that. Bryson, John Rahm. So we don't get that benefit when we get past the elite golfers. And I just wonder, by day 2 or day 3, whether we're all going to be like, oh, shoot, it really was distance over accuracy, or it really was accuracy over distance. I don't know where the public lies on this. I can tell you that I'm probably going to favor accuracy over distance. And that's going to probably have me having some like shorter hitters off the tee, maybe some long hitters too, but more shorter hitters in like my DFS lineups than maybe some other people. So again, I lob the question back to you two. Which one do you prefer? Because I personally think being out of that rough and setting up your second shot, no matter how far back you are, is to me so much more important than being in 5 to 5.5 inch rough over Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
100%. Go ahead, Sobel.
Oakmont is the greatest catch-22 in all of golf because if you listen to the players, every single player who's been in the interview room, all the greats of the game have come in and said, you absolutely have to hit these fairways. And so I've asked a few of them, Xander Schauffele, I talked to Dustin Johnson. I said, okay, if you have to hit the fairways, does that mean you're going to leave the driver in the bag and take something less than driver? Make sure you're in the fairway. And they all said, no, I'll hit driver all over the place. Well, if driving accuracy is so important, why wouldn't you keep in the fairway? Well, and John Rahm answered this question today. If you leave yourself 5 irons, 6 irons coming into these greens, you're cooked. You cannot hold a green with a mid-iron club like that into it. And so the ball's just going to go bouncing into some thick rough around it. You're going to be chipping out. You're probably not going to make par. And so it is, like I said, a catch-22 in that you've got to be straight. You've got to be in the fairway, but you've got to hit driver because if you're straight and short, it's not going to do you any good. And so I expect these guys to be banging driver all over the place. We've seen a complete 180 in the type of golfer that wins U.S. Opens over the last decade. This used to be the domain of Lee Janzen, of Corey Pavin, of Jim Furyk, guys who were plotters, guys who hit fairways and greens and let everybody else make the mistakes. What have we seen over the last 10 years? Brooks has 2 of them. Bryson has 2 of them. John Rahm, Gary Woodland, Wyndham Clark. What do these guys all have in common? They're big athletic dudes. They don't look like golfers of yesteryear. They look like guys who could have been playing, if not linebacker on your football team, at least third base on your Major League Baseball team. I mean, these are all big athletic guys who can have the forearms and the strength to get a ball out of the rough. And so I expect that to continue this week. I think it's very intriguing to see if anyone follows the strategy of, I'm going to just make sure I get in the fairway and take my lumps from there because I can't get the ball anywhere close from the rough. But my guess is that these guys all have a little bit of an ego. These guys all think they can hit driver long and straight. They're narrow pinched fairways. You're not a whole lot of them if you're banging driver 100%, but I really think that's what most of these guys are going to do. That's how they're going to attack this golf course.
My storyline probably looks foolish at this point is, will the expectations of carnage really live up to the hype? And actually, and I'll talk about, I'll give you some stats a little bit later in the show, based on everything that Sobel's saying, based on everything that C is saying. The answer is yes. Yeah. If somebody breaks par, and we'll, as I said, we'll talk about it. If somebody breaks par this week, that'd be surprising. Do you know that in 07, I got a trivia question. I'll ask it right now. See, I'm going to start with you on this one. 07 U.S. Open, 2016 U.S. Open. How many players shot lower for the event than 1 under par? Combined.
I'll hide my answer.
Combined.
It's over here.
6.
Okay, Sobel, why don't you? 1. Who is it?
Dustin
Johnson, 2016, won at -4. 1 player.
So, okay, go ahead.
Shot lower than -1. So, like Angel Cabrera won in 07 at 5 over par. You look at like the Dustin Johnson won by daylight in 2016, and these guys were so far back. Like Scotty Scheffler, if he wins, could win by daylight and maybe make this stat irrelevant. But you know what? Watching Zach Blair putt it from 120 yards on hole 1 in the, I think it's on the SportsLine Instagram page and social media. Like these, when you can roll a ball from 120 yards on the green, that things are going to get weird. Like it's that fast. Yeah, this is going to be a beast. All right, let's get to FRLs here. I don't even know how you pick an FRL. I know that I believe FanDuel has a risk-free FRL. I mean, you can take your shot. These are some of the notable groups here. The ones that stand out to me. This is kind of a weird one. Sobel, why is Jose Luis Ballester playing with Xander and DeChambeau? That's kind of a random one. I don't really understand that one. Rory and Justin Rose. Sobel will be right back. Sia, I mean, looking at these, is there one that stands out to you that you're like, hey, I mean, outside of Scotty Morikawa, like, is there another one that stands out to you that you're like, I got to watch this?
Well, it's not so much that I have to watch it, but I do think Rory is in a comfortable group. And if we're going to assess Rory as somebody where we're not sure where his mental state is relative to some of these other guys coming in, I do think it's a good setup for him to be with his good buddy Shane Lowry and Justin Rose. That one is interesting to me as far as one I actually want to watch. I mean, it's the Scotty, Colin, Victor group. I mean, I'd love to see. I think Spieth might play well. I think John Rahm is going to play well. You know, DJ might be a train wreck, and he actually might throw that squad off. We'll see. Maybe he'll actually have a good first round. But it's the Scotty group that I'm very intrigued by, especially because I think Colin and Victor, like if they're playing their A game, I think they have a chance to contend here.
So Jose Luis Ballester is the guy at the Masters who relieved himself, I believe, nearby Race Creek, and he gets rewarded for that by playing with Xander and Bryson. You know, I mean, so be it. All right, let's see. Sobel's having some technical issues. We'll welcome him back here shortly. You have a 5-pack of FRLs, and you and Sobel, Shane Lowry, we're going to start there.
Yeah, Shane Lowry is a guy that I was going to target. I mean, I wrote an article, EC, for CBS Sports.com and I guess for SportsLine too. It was published like 5 or 6 days ago, and I gave out 2 outrights. Shane Lowry was one of them, and it was in the without market. Now this is first round leaders; it's not without market. I will say this: I have 5 here, but anybody who's asked me the question, whether it's been in the SportsLine Discord or on this show, knows that these are very much sprinkle bets. So in spite of the fact that I have 5, which is in my opinion a lot, although other people have certainly more than that, these are all 50-1 to 90-1. And honestly, I just want everybody to know, because we maybe have more people watching today or listening to the podcast. I'm only putting, somewhere in the neighborhood of 0.3 to 0.4 units total on this. So I just want everybody to understand. And by the way, when you're dealing with a 75 and a 90 and an 80-1, like that's actually potentially going to pay for your weekend. But I just want everybody to understand that these are sprinkle bets. But yeah, Shane Lowry, Harris English, these guys really profile well here for a lot of different reasons. Ryan Fox, I'm going to leave my money on the table there. What I love about Ryan Fox, and I'm sure what Jason loved about him when he hit him outright, was that the accuracy is starting to be there off the tee for Ryan Fox as well. And the rest of the game has come along for the ride. So really like that about him. Ryan Gerard, not a guy I'm on for the tournament in any regard, but his ability to pop and spike is definitely there. We've seen him do it in majors before too. And Adam Scott, speaking of majors, is a guy that I can't imagine winning this tournament. But I do think when majors come, Adam Scott actually shows up. And so at 90-1 to have a great first round, I'm willing to sprinkle on that as well.
So risk-free promotion on certain sports books. Sobel, should we give it a shot with Shane Lowry or Jordan Spieth?
Yeah, why not? So I'm going to go through here and tell you the recent first-round leaders over the last 6 years, leaders or co-leaders at the U.S. Open, have been Patrick Cantlay, Rory McIlroy, Ricky Fowler, Xander Schauffele, Adam Hadwin, Russell Henley, Louis Oosthuizen, Justin Thomas, and Justin Rose. Hadwin's the only guy that might even be a little bit of a surprise. The other guys are all pretty big-name players who have won big-name golf tournaments over the years, and so I'm not looking too far down the list. I love a long shot first-round leader play, but I just don't think it happens. I don't think we're going to see a long shot winner this week. I think it's someone from the top of the board, and I don't think we're going to see someone that we don't know much about on top of this board after day one. I expect the leading score after the day to be somewhere in the 67-ish range, depending on how much this course dries up. I'm looking at Shane Lowry, who's played some good golf and obviously was runner-up here back in 2016. I'm not fully aboard the Shane train for a 4-round investment. I know a lot of people really like him. I'm not quite there with Lowry this week. He's talked about just how hard Oakmont is, and I feel like Shane's a guy who can talk himself out of playing good golf when he's not fully invested in a tournament himself. But I do like him for a single-round play. And then Jordan Spieth, look, I always preach that I like volatility in my first-round leader plays. You can just go shoot 80, but if you got a chance to shoot 67, I want to have a piece of that. Jordan Spieth's the most volatile golfer in the entire world, so I like having a piece of Jordan Spieth. Reportedly, and I can throw a name out. I can name drop. My buddy Aaron Oberholzer with Golf Channel said he was walking with Jordan the other day, said he was hitting it great on Monday afternoon.
And he's been really good off the tee as well. I mean, he's been erratic, but the off the tee play has been really good at the distance as well. Like I think Jordan Spieth's a great play there.
Jordan Spieth is a very interesting play, and that's a good one. See, we love these tips, Sobel. This is what helps. Take a shot with your FRLs. And by the way, that Shane Lowry, you guys have different odds there. If you can get it at 50-1, all the better. If you want to parlay it.
I think the 50 I got was over at FanDuel, just so everybody knows.
Yeah, I mean, you price shop those. Exactly.
Yeah.
Coming up next, we're going around the world yet again. C and I do not share the same pick, but I can tell you what Sobel and I are both doing. We're fading Rory McIlroy after we hear from one of our sponsors.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.
So last week, I kind of feel like a fool. I mean, not that I don't often when I make picks on this show, but when I came out at the end of the show, I said, hey, give me some early picks for the U.S. Open. I said, I like Rory McIlroy. Really? And then he goes out and shoots, 79 on Friday. Yeah, we're going to pass on that. We're not going to go there. See, we're going to start with you here before we get to the Rory hate. You gave this one out, I believe, on Early Edge this morning. Top South Korean, which I like it at this number, Siwoo Kim.
Yeah, I do want to rep out the early edge too, because we have our show obviously every Monday through Friday at 10, but tomorrow at 12:55 or 1 o'clock, if that's easier for you to remember, we're doing an MLB live stream with Mike McClure, with A-Mags, with let's see, who else? Tom Casale and Matt Snyder, aka the Sniper. So that's going to go like an hour and a half, and it's a great live stream. It's really an education more than it is anything else, but plenty of bets that you can make there too. And the live chat is tomorrow at 4 o'clock. I believe that's just me and Rick on that one. Again, live chat tomorrow. But yeah, top South Korean Siwoo Kim plus 225. I really like this number. I mean, at plus 225, I mentioned on the early edge, I'm only putting a half a unit on this because when it comes to plays like this, I'm really just looking to win a unit. So I could really even go 0.4 units and pretty much get a unit here. But Siwoo Kim over Sung Jae Im, Tom Kim, and Ben An. I think Ben An is interesting. He's like the lowest or the highest of the odds, like the least likely to win this thing. I think he's interesting because of his ability to spike and his off the tee play at times. Sung Jae Im, I just worry about his approach play more than anything. I do think the markets are respecting Sung Jae Im. I've noticed that in some matchups. Tom Kim, he cannot do it for 4 rounds. I mean, it is one thing. Jason, go ahead.
Sorry, fade Tom Kim. Whatever you do, fade Tom Kim this week. I want no part of him.
I don't know what's going on with him, but it's been going on for quite some time. So like, to me, this is basically like, I don't want to say it's Siwoo versus Sung Jae because I think Ben An has a chance here, but plus 225 is a really good number. And I do want to point this out because the early edge listeners pointed it out for me. I had the wrong number up there. There are other books that have this as low as plus 180 or plus 185, but BetMGM had it at plus 225. And that is a huge difference. Again, that's why we say, hey, maybe, and we always rep out BetMGM, they're a sponsor, but that doesn't mean that should be your only book, right? You should have multiple books if you can, because some of these numbers are just drastically different in this market, in the outright market, matchups, you name it. But yeah, Siwoo Kim plus 225, top South Korean. I like his accuracy off the tee. He doesn't have a ton of distance, but it's not horrible distance. And, the putter has been coming along for the ride. I just like him and his ball striking more than the others. As far as Cam Young over Rasmus Højgaard, I fear Rasmus Højgaard in this respect. He starts off tournaments usually pretty well and then completely fades. But the way I haven't been a Cameron Young guy, I'm not really, I don't know that I really want to be there necessarily, but in round one, the way he's hitting it, the way he's particularly hitting it off the tee, I think even though Rasmus is good at that too, I think he's a little bit more erratic right now than Cameron Young. So I'll lay the minus 120. That's a round one matchup, by the way.
Got to admit, I was sweating a little Cam Young no bet list in the last round, but then Cam Young did what Cam Young does and hit his second shot awry and then didn't get up and down, and that was a disaster. And that's why you don't bet Cam Young to win. I think we've all learned that lesson. All right, Sobel, talk about it. Rory McIlroy, Jon Rahm. I know all of us like Jon Rahm. We'll talk more about him in the show. Why are we fading him here?
My favorite matchup plays have a play that I really like and a play that I really don't like, and this is one of my favorites this week. I usually don't find him at the top of the board. I will say that I usually go deeper down the board because you can find little flaws with players, and the superstars can play well on any given week. There's not a whole lot that I like about Rory right now. I spoke with Brad Faxon as he was on the golf course. I was hosting PGA Tour Radio earlier today, and Fax was on the golf course watching Rory McIlroy, telling us how well Rory was playing that day. Had 4 birdies on the front 9, I believe, and was hitting it really good. I can't get over what Rory did last week. I can't get over there's a lot swirling around. He's moving to the UK. He's going to keep his Florida house, but he's moving the family to the UK next week. Like, there's just a lot, too much going on. He's playing a lot of tennis. I don't know. He's just like, he seems bored a little bit. Like, I've said this before, but if golf is a video game, he got to the final level and he beat it. And now he's sort of just hanging around and like, I don't know, I'll play some more, but I feel like his interest level isn't what it was 2 months ago. And for obvious reasons, we all understand that. All that said, I really like Jon Rahm. So for me, I usually like matchups where I'm getting a little bit of an underdog there, but that's just, it's too good of a matchup for me to ignore even at minus 135. And then I'll take Tommy Fleetwood minus 105 over Joaquin Niemann. Look, Joaquin Niemann is who we think he is. He's the best golfer on Live. I don't mean the best golfer who plays on Live. I mean the best golfer on that tour, but he doesn't bring it to the majors. His first top 10 was a month ago at Quail Hollow. I'm waiting to see what he does on a big golf course like this one, a hard golf course. Tommy Fleetwood plays well in tough conditions. That's a fairly easy call for me.
I'm going to talk about both of those actually, I believe, in the next segment. So Farzad in the chat says he agrees with my miss the cut parlay. So Rory's thinking about moving. to England. Justin Thomas has a driver that you don't know where it's going on a course like this. And Brooks Koepka is more concerned about his Florida Panthers that are up 2-1 in the Stanley Cup Finals. So at plus 1873, we're getting the miscut parlay. We're going to take our shots, put a quarter unit, have a little shot with that, and see if we can make ourselves 4 units on that or something like that. Good with that. Let's talk about top South African because Sobel, I got Christian Zadenhout at plus 175. He has to beat Eric Van Rooyen, Tristan Lawrence, and who the heck is Jacques? I'm not even going to try it. You want to help out here?
Yes. So I was doing post game a couple of months ago on PGA Tour Radio when he won on the DP World Tour. I tried to do this. I was doing the show, thankfully, with Brendan DeYoung, and Brendan DeYoung gave me a great Jacques Kruijswijk. And I'm like, I can't. Like, that's how it came out when I tried to say it. It sounds much better coming out of his Zimbabwean mouth.
Mm-hmm. Jacques Kruijswijk. We'll try that. So we're going to get plus 175. Listen, Bezuidenhout has made the cut. He's 3 for 3 at the U.S. Open. Van Rooyen had that great qualifier on the longest day in golf and then stunk it up last weekend in Canada. Lawrence has been a disaster. Kruijswijk, don't know who he is. You can also play top African and get a little bit better odds on Bezuidenhout there, but Scott Vincent is involved, and he's actually done really well on the Asian Tour this year. Got booted off LIV and has played well on the Asian Tour. So I'm actually just going to stick to top South African at plus 175, be a little more conservative just in case Scott Vincent, albeit against lesser competition, decides to pop again on the big stage. Go ahead, Sia.
A couple things. I think it might be worth addressing Alex Jones's question in the chat about Ludwig plus 120 over Xander. I assume that's a tournament matchup, but I did want to bring something up because Tristan Lawrence reminded me of a play. It's a 3-ball play for round 1 that I only found on FanDuel, and that's part of the reason I didn't give it out on the show. I just like DraftKings has populated 3 balls, but this one wasn't in there for whatever reason, and I didn't see them on. I need to double check BetMGM because I know they have 3 balls out, but I just want everybody to know that at the very least during the show, I'll check to see if it's on MGM. This is on FanDuel. And the play is Thorbjorn Olesen in a 3-ball minus 125, which is pretty steep in a 3-ball, but it's against Tristan Lawrence and Noah Kent, which is the kid over at UF that's played a few PGA Tour events and kind of bombed all of them. I mean, great talent, but I don't expect him to show up. So I just want everybody to know that 3-ball is out there. It's not an official play yet for me. But I really like Thorbjorn there over Kent and Lawrence.
You can play these missed cuts. I know DK is where I got this one. Also, my winning score, over 278.5. For those of you mathematicians, Matt did us a favor here on the graphic. Winner to finish -1 or worse. We talked about it earlier in the show. Sobel, I mean, no, they have to, basically one player in the last 2 U.S. Opens at Oakmont has beaten this, Dustin Johnson in 2016. Scotty Scheffler. Yeah, go ahead.
I love that you're getting 1 under because I think that's where it's going to be. So
really,
the fact that this is cut off right there at like 1.5 under, and you lose at 2 under, but you win at 1 under, I think that's a good place to be. So I'm okay with you on that one. And by the way, I just wanted to point out, if we put up the comment in the chat from Kelly Allen that said the only bad thing about Rory missing the cut is there's like 60 or 70 qualifiers who are mostly going to have no chance at that golf course. So there's 70 alone. He will beat easily. It's a really good point to be made here, that it's not like a regular PGA Tour event. You've got a lot of amateurs, a lot of dentists, a lot of people that are coming in from the mini tours, the DP World Tour, and other places that just don't stand a chance here. And so just based on the numbers, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to find not just Rory, but JT and Brooks and guys in your parlay for all of them to miss the cut. Just it's a numbers game. That said, I don't mind the play. I don't mind taking a chance like that. But it's a great point by Kelly there.
Yeah, I'm taking a shot. I know it's unlikely, and there's a reason it's plus 250, but throwing it in there, it's a long shot parlay. Let's have a little bit of fun. I mean, did anyone ever think that an amateur named Tyler Mahini would make the cut last week at the RBC Canadian Open and Rory McIlroy would not? Think about that. Just saying, golf is a funny game, how this plays out.
Just a point of clarification, you specifically said you're putting 0.25 units on that, and that's a really good thing to say when you're talking about a parlay like that. And for the record, that's what you're doing. Other people could put 0.10 units on it and still get a pretty good cash out at whatever it was, plus 1873. So again, Rick Funcannon mentioned earlier in the chat, I think it's worth repeating, bet responsibly. Like, this is supposed to be fun. And EC, to your credit, that's a fun parlay that people could put, $5 down or $2 down on it if they wanted to. Whatever it is, as long as it's fun, then, I think you can sprinkle on stuff like that.
Yeah, $5 pays you almost 100. And let's have a little fun with it. The over 278.5. I think the winning score will be +2. Sia, what would you say right now if I were to ask you what's the winning score at Oakmont? What is it?
I mean, Scotty Scheffler's playing in the tournament, right? He's still in, right?
He's still in, yeah.
All right. I think he wins. I think it's under par. I think he wins at 2 under.
Interesting. All right. Well, I hope not for the purpose of this particular bet. All right, let's move on to finishing positions. Sobel, we're going to start with you on this one. A couple of top 20s and a couple. Start with Captain America here.
Yeah, look, I'm taking guys who have played well this year, guys who have been on leaderboards, and guys who should be able to handle tough conditions because they play hard golf courses really well. Keegan Bradley, look, big, brawny Northeast golf course. This is just written up there for Keegan Bradley to have a really good week. I've got a lot of DFS of Keegan. Again, I kind of wish that, and maybe it's the without Scotty, Rory, Bryson market, whoever else you want to throw in there. I don't mind a Keegan in that play. I didn't go too deep. You'll see in our outrights in a few minutes, but I think Keegan has a really good week. And Maverick McNeely, when he shows up, he really shows up. And this is a different Maverick McNeely than we saw just a few years ago. At the start of his PGA Tour career, this was a low ceiling, high floor player. He is completely flipped, whether it's by design, whether it's just something that's happened. When he's off, he's a little bit more off than he used to be. But when he's on, he's really on, and he can play with the game's best players. I expect him to be on this week. He's a very analytical type of guy. This is a course that takes a lot of analytical type of thinking, and I think he's going to match up really well.
See, I do the long shot parlay on SportsLine, and come up with something where you bet $10 to win $1 million, whatnot. Yeah. And I did it this week with Scotty Scheffler up top. Normally, I like to put in a price there, but so it had to be 10 legs. And as part of those 10 legs, I had both Sam Burns and Harris English included. I had English top 10 at 5-1 and Sam Burns top 20. So why don't you tell us why you like both?
First of all, I love the state of Sam Burns' game. I mean, if we're being honest, he was a 5-footer.
Minus 5-footer, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm so glad he missed it. And like, just picture me watching that putt. I had already resigned myself to the fact that he was going to make it. I mean, Burns is such an amazing putter. Yeah, anybody can miss in that pressure situation, but I was like 95% sure he was making that putt, and he didn't. And the playoff was amazing. I mean, there's so many things we could talk about there, but the state of his game is great. And what I love about him, and granted, we saw it, like, especially in the playoff, I mean, on that par 5, like, this guy's like peppering fairways. Now, that's a lot different there than it is here, obviously, but I still think he's striking it really well. And what's so great about Burns is the putter. Like, the putter is going to save him to the extent the ball striking isn't there. It'll save him more than really almost anybody else in the field. I mean, we can talk about the good putters. It's not just Sam Burns, but I just love that he can lean on the putter. And plus 190 for a top 20. I didn't really want to play him conservatively in the top 30 market, including ties, because I think his spike potential is pretty great. And I think top 20, top 10 is very much in play. Again, these are pretty much half unit plays for me as well. I just want everybody to know that. As far as Harris English, I think a lot of people are talking about Harris English. I think he's tucked inside the top 30 here at plus 115, including ties. Just makes a ton of sense. I mean, he's playing very, very well on tough courses. He plays very well off the tee. He's better than people think, which is why I had him in the without Scotty Scheffler market some time ago. And we cashed that one at 110-1 split 3 ways. I think Harris English could easily top 20 here. I'll go conservative with him at plus 115.
I tried to cheat in this segment. I apologize. The rule is you can't give more than 2 players that you like. I cheated. I'm going with a couple of parlays because it's U.S. Open week and we're going to have fun with it. Top 10 parlay. I feel great about this one. John Rahm, Colin Morikawa. You can find this pre-made parlay at DK at plus 500. Love this one. And then this top 20 parlay. And Sobel, you just talked about 2 of these guys in it. I mean, Bryson's a great fit here. Very well could win. Joaquin Niemann, I'm buying. I mean, he just won at a stirring final round at Live. It's Live, I get it. But, I mean, he finally got over that hump and got that top 20 in a major. And Tommy Fleetwood is Mr. Consistent, but you never have to worry about him winning. So, especially in the U.S. Open. So, plus 450 for 3 guys. Yeah, I feel pretty confident about that. And I know C is going to shake his head when I say this because I'm, risk averse. I'm playing 1 full unit on both these plays. Seriously, I want to make some money this week, and this is how we're going to do it. Because my outrights, when you're fading Scotty Scheffler and you're playing without markets, things get dicey. If you like, lesser names, let's say, you're probably not going to like this next segment, but you're going to want to stay tuned to see what we all think after we hear from one of our sponsors.
get ready.
Wait a second. I thought we were going tubing.
All 3 Sonic the Hedgehog movies and Knuckles are now streaming on Paramount Plus.
And everyone loves it.
Every adventure,
Just try to keep up.
every face-off,
This ends now.
and every moment that will have you saying,
Where have you been? My entire life!
It's showtime.
all 3 Sonic the Hedgehog movies and the entire Sonic universe are now streaming on Paramount Plus.
All right, I got to address Blake in the chat here. He says, how do you like Scotty top 10 and Bryson top 20 at minus 109? It's a great bet. But give me, like, if you're going to parlay, I got to see plus money. You got throw something else in there. Like, throw in Harris English top 30 and get it to plus 200. Like, give me some plus juice if you're going to do a parlay. Okay. I'm going to do a lot of parlays with
very safe parlay. I like it.
It's a safe parlay, but if you can't do a parlay when it has a minus in front of it, like, kind of defeats the purpose of a parlay. No, see, are you with me on that, or
no, not necessarily. I mean, you could potentially find value in it, regardless. If you like the bet. I don't know. It's at the end of the day, it's Oakmont. I could foresee a scenario where one of them has a bad tournament, but now that I say it out loud, I think it's probably a decent bet. I'm not doing it, but that's probably a decent play.
Sobel, I hate to jinx your picks, but I really, really like both of your plays here in the outrights. Like, really like. I apologize in advance for doing this to you, but we all have John Rahm, and I know we're all going to talk about him to an extent. I want you to start with Xander Schauffele here in the without Scotty market. Like, I played Xander outright the other week, and I mean, he's probably not like, I feel like yours is safer. This is a great bet. Why should we bet Xander Schauffele this weekend?
I think everything's starting to come around for him. I spoke with him yesterday, and it just sounds like he's in the right place. In fact, I had this theory that I proposed to him back in March when he came back in the API after missing 2 months with a rib injury. I said, other players have missed time, and it's wound up being a blessing in disguise because you have more in the tank when the other guys are tired from playing so many events. I think this is exactly the time of year when it shows up, when these other guys are like, oh man, I just, I'm dragging now. We played so many big, long, tough golf courses. And even if they're not, showing a lack of physical exertion, it's like the mental energy they put in for 6 full months now. It just gets to you at some point. Xander's got less tread on the tires this season. So I like him. And really, I know it feels like he hasn't put everything together every week. The driver was a little too wayward at the Memorial a few weeks ago. Before that, the driver was good. The irons weren't great. He's having trouble putting it all together, but he plays so well at the majors. 7 top 10s and 8 career starts at the U.S. Open. The only one he wasn't, he was 14th. That's just a great record at this tournament. And you can tell he has a little more confidence coming back now as a 2-time major champion, which he's never done before. And then John Rahm, look, we all like John Rahm. John Rahm is very quickly becoming maybe my favorite play on the board. For as much as I like Scotty, if I'm just give me a pick to win right now, it's still Scotty, but John Rahm is 1B, and he's catching up to 1A very, very quickly. But I will not go much deeper past this top tier. As we've seen the last year and a half, the guys who win majors are the big boys. It's Scotty who's done it twice. Xander's done it twice. Rory and Bryson. We have not seen a Sean McKeel or a Ben Curtis or a Y.E. Yang or a Rich Beam winning a major at any point in the last 15, 20 years. I don't think it's going to happen this week. I think Oakmont is going to identify the best players as it's supposed to do, and we're going to see a big boy leaderboard once again, much like we saw at Quail Hollow last month.
See, and I like that. Now, I know, Sia, you're not one who probably loves that because you're great at going down the board and picking out some of these crooked numbers for winners. But tell us about your 3 that you're betting this week outright.
I will say this, my long shot section isn't super long shotty, but they are like bigger numbers than this. So I probably should have them on this board. Just spoiler alert, they're both 65-1. And I'm doing a lot of things with the without market. So as you can see here, I like John Rahm. I mean, listen, like everything checks out for John Rahm, including his recent play and his recent form, at least at the last major where he almost chased down Scotty. Love what he can do off the tee. I just think he's gaining everywhere now. At least the form seems great everywhere now. So I think 9-1. Like, listen, I don't even know that I like him better than Bryson, But if I like them the same, and I do like Rahm a little bit better than Bryson, I think, but if I like them the same and I'm getting in the without market plus 900 versus, whatever, plus 700, I'm obviously going to go with the 900. So I like him there. Shane Lowry, I wish this number was a little longer in the without Scotty Scheffler market, but I do think he's the type of guy that can navigate these courses better than like 90% of the field. So at 35-1 in the without Scotty Scheffler market, I don't mind that play. Sam Burns at plus 3,500. Now that one, the reason that number is so short is because it's in the without Scheffler, McIlroy, Rahm, and DeChambeau market. Now what I'm trying to do here, and you'll see it with my long shots as well, there's an opportunity here for Scotty Scheffler to win the tournament, John Rahm to come in second, and any of my other 4 outrights to come in third, and I can scoop this whole thing, which is why for my outrights this week, normally I have like 0.7 to 0.8 units. I'll probably push it up to like 0.8 to 0.9 units altogether on my outrights, just so, because people ask me that question sometimes too. But Burns is playing too well, and the putter's too good. I couldn't leave him out here.
All right, Matt, I'm a little late in this, but will you show us the no bet list? Because I don't want to like go back on something that I always do here with a Patrick Cantlay inclusion. Like, all right, Cam Young scared me last week. Keith Mitchell is a worthy inclusion. Cantlay we're going to talk about here in a second. Sahith's not playing. He's hurt. Zalatoris we've talked about. Tommy Fleetwood's not going to win. Xander Schauffele is not under 10-1, so we're good there. Lowry, you just talked about there, guys. So let's get to talk about Patrick Cantlay. You guys have talked about Rahm. We've gone over that. Here's the thing about Cantlay. He was awful, having an awful year last year. Do you know what he finished at Pinehurst? T3. Mm-hmm. He has 7 top 20s and 12 starts this season, including 3 top 5s. In his last 4 U.S. Opens, he has 4 top 15s. It's probably aggressive in the without McIlroy, Rahm, Scheffler, DeChambeau market at 25-1 to say that Patrick Cantlay is going to finish T3 again. But I really think he can get there. And I'm probably a little optimistic. I don't think he wins. But for that price, at that price in this market, yeah, I can get behind it. And Morikawa, we haven't talked about him yet, guys. He hits it straight. And I saw a video today, and maybe I need to stop looking at these videos from Oakmont, but he was putting from off the green, and it was like a sidewinder, and he drilled it. And I'm going, all right, if he's hitting that, we're on. No, Sobel, you're giving me a look here. No, what?
For every putt you make on Tuesday, it's one more you're going to miss on Friday.
I will say this, EC. I'm not a Morikawa guy. I'm really not. And I'm still so mad at myself for taking him a couple of weeks ago in the one and done. Remember that show? I was like, I really don't want to do this. I don't think he's going to win, all of that stuff. And Jason was like, yeah, he's not going to win. I actually think, because of what we talked about at the beginning of the show, where I'm favoring accuracy a little bit more than distance, I actually think Morikawa has a chance here. And by the way, I could be wrong about my accuracy distance thing, but I'm just saying, because of where I'm digging in, I think, I know it's Colin Morikawa, but it wouldn't shock me at all if he's in the conversation on Sunday.
All right, fair enough. Let's see long shots. Hef's in the chat. He says his long shot is Keegan Bradley at 90-1. Sobel, you're going deeper than that, but let's start with Cam Young. Really, you think he can win? Oh, it's in the without Scheffler. Okay, I'm good.
Without Scheffler, look, Cam Young happens to finish second place a lot, so I can certainly see it. Although I guess he missed his second place finish last week in Canada. I don't love it. I don't really love any of the long shots. I think the winner's coming from one of the top 5 players in the world, one of the top 5 on the board this week. So really, for me to play long shots, I almost should have skipped it. I should have pulled a Patrick McDonald and just said, yep, not doing this category. But I don't know. I'm still new here. I want to fill out the rundown. So I'll give you Cam Young. I'll give you Thomas Dietrich. More like, really top 20, top 40 plays and DFS plays. But I had to throw him in there somewhere. So I'll throw him in for long shots. Do I think Young or Dietrich is going to win? Not really. But I don't know. Maybe it's a reverse jinx. I say that they're not going to win, and then they do, and then I get to pat myself on the back next week on the show.
Sia, you're going with a lot of recency bias when it comes to the RBC Canadian Open and who you like on your board. Sam Burns, you already talked about. Now you're going Fox and Cam Young here.
Yeah, and it's not really just the RBC Canadian Open. Like, these guys have shown me something, at least over the last month, which for the record is still an extremely small sample size. But I also think they profile really well for this course, especially the way they're hitting it off the tee. So this is one of those situations where, For Ryan Fox, I'm leaving my money on the table, just like the roulette wheel. I'm not taking the chips off of where I just cashed. Not that I do that every time, but again, because I think Fox profiles a little bit better than people think, just from tournament to tournament, I don't mind taking him at 65-1. And the beauty of this, with respect to Fox and Cam Young, if you're listening to the podcast, you're not watching the show live, this is also in the winner without Scheffler, McIlroy, Rahm, and DeChambeau market. So, it wouldn't stun me the way these guys are playing if they're in the conversation. And again, we could have a situation where Rahm and Bryson and Scheffler all do well, and they're all at the top of the board, and you still cash one of these bets.
This is not your typical long shot bet, but we had to get a Scotty Scheffler win bet here on this program, right? Like, we all think he's going to win, so you got to throw something in here. All right, Scheffler to win. Bryson top 5. He has 5 straight top 5s going back, including the live. That's fine. Jon Rahm top 10. We all like him. We haven't talked about Corey Connors yet, but he's been a steady Eddie. Wasn't as good in Canada as I had hoped, but he has 2 top 20s in both majors this season. You're getting 48-1. It's a lot of things to happen at 48-1, but for a sprinkle, I'm putting a 1/10 of a unit on it. Let's have a little fun. Go ahead, Sobel.
The one thing I'll say about Connors, and you can't really say this about most players in the field this week, maybe a few of his fellow Canadians, but this is almost like where this is a pressure cooker for 98% of the field. For the Canadians, this is almost like, hey, a nice fun event after the pressure cooker of last week where I'm trying to win my national championship. I get it. They'd probably, if you get them on the truth serum, they might rather win a U.S. Open in a major than a Canadian Open. That said, I feel like for some of the Canadians, and especially for Corey Connors, this is almost like a little exhale kind of week. Not that it's going to play easy for him, not that it doesn't mean anything, but just there was so many expectations on him last week that this week might feel a little bit easier.
Doghouse Riley says, Connors and Berger, my 2 long shots. Can't argue with that one bit. Before we get to OAD, I want to ask you, it's been brought up in the chat, and I had somebody actually ask me to bring this up. Chris asked me to bring it up before the show. So DK is doing this thing called King of the Course, where you bet a player to win the U.S. Open and you get a share of $1 million in bonus bets if you select a player with the most birdies or better in rounds 3 and 4 combined. So doesn't necessarily have to win the tournament, but if they have the most birdies, forget the bogeys, most birdies in rounds 3 and 4, who would you bet outright for that value? You can you can bet $5 minimum bet. So you just, take a long, who would you bet?
I would bet someone who's, I would bet someone who's way in back of the pack because I don't want to share that with a whole lot of other people. You bet Scotty Scheffler, and you're going to get $7 in return because everyone's going to have Scotty Scheffler. I'm looking way down the board. I'm trying to get different. I'm trying to look at maybe a guy that's – I don't think there's going to be much of a difference between conditions in the morning and conditions in the afternoon at all this week, but maybe the greens are that much softer in the morning, which is not really soft at all. But I don't know. I'm just picking a guy that's out of nowhere. Just give me somebody who's, maybe a guy that plays mostly on the DP World Tour that people don't know as well. Just give me a long shot that, for that kind of bet. Absolutely. I'm going way down the list.
I'll take Corey Connors 60-1. Who you got, Sia?
I'll go. I have a name that makes sense and a name that is completely ridiculous that nobody will select.
We like it.
And for the record, he was almost in my long shots at 170-1 in the without the big 4 market. That guy's name is Victor Perez. But the other guy that's more realistic is Sam Burns.
Okay. And who's the other one?
No, that's it. Sam Burns is the kind of realistic one that some people will certainly be on. And then Victor Perez is the absolute ridiculous one.
Fair enough. All right. So you got to take a shot and have a good time with this one. But Sobel's right. If you're going to win, you don't want to win $7. You want to win $83,000 like they gave out in baseball. That's how you got to do it. $83,000 in bonus bets could be a life changer for some. You know what's not a life changer for me? OAD. Because, it's not good. Hey, McClure, I'm catching up to you. And Patrick had Scheffler, but he forgot to put in his pick. So, see ya. 43rd. You're still doing good. Good for Kyle Betts 11 at $15 million. I'm sitting there with 1.8. Let's see what we got. Mitchell Smith. He says he's 1 spot behind you, Sia, in 44th. Mitchell, I apologize in advance. As before you see this next screen, you're going to be upset. Let's see what we got. Oh no. Do we need to say anything more about this here? Jon Rahm, you got to take a live guy this week, right? Sobel?
I think so. I think it's the play. I hadn't used Rom yet, and I like Rom this week. I could have saved him for Port Rush next month because I like him there as well. But obviously, the main takeaway here is that EC is very scared of us catching up to him. We're right on his coattails right now, and he's just trying to play a little Heisman, give us the stiff arm, and keep us from getting any closer.
I don't think we can win 11 or 10 million to catch up to you this week, Sia. So John Rahm, is it the safe play to take a live guy, either Rahm or DeChambeau this week?
So this is one of those situations where at this point of the season, if you're down big, I like the live idea, but if you're down big, I mean, you're not going anywhere with this particular pick. Because I'm still in the top 50, I'm willing to just kind of concede John Rahm. But I do think there are other guys at play here that, like, if you're trying to catch up, you kind of have to go to. If you're thinking of a live guy, I think Joaquin Neiman would certainly make sense. Again, if you're playing catch up, major catch up. And I think there's also, PGA Tour guys that, like, people aren't going to be on. Like, if you haven't used Colin yet, like, just really any of these guys that, like, are not live and are not like one of those main contenders, those primary contenders. I'm thinking of Hovland. I'm thinking of Morikawa. I'm thinking of Cantlay. Like, if you're trying to play catch up, those guys make sense. But if you're playing from ahead, John Rahm makes the most sense for sure.
See, what do you think of Hovland? Doghouse Riley in the chat said, any thoughts on him, play or lay?
I like Hovland. I think I'll probably play him a little bit in DFS. I mean, if you're looking for somebody that's great off the tee, and the game can all be there for him for sure, I think Hovland makes sense. Again, I'm not betting him, and I'm maybe just sprinkling him in the DFS market, but I'm not like big on him, but I'm not against him either.
I got to give Mitchell Smith props. See, he's one spot behind you apparently in our one and done. He's going with Scotty Scheffler this week. Scotty against Rahm. Yeah, that's going to be tough. Now it's time for my favorite part of the show. I'm just going to sit back, take a sip of water, and we're going to listen to some more Sobel story time as we look at the recap screen that producer Matt does a great job on every week.
Well, boys, this week marks my 25th anniversary of the first event I ever covered. That was the 2000 U.S. Open at Pebble Beach. I can't remember anything about the week, who won or anything like that. I guess it wasn't really memorable at all, but I do remember being out there. So I could give you so many stories about covering U.S. Opens over the years. I'll give you one that I don't believe I've ever told publicly on any platform before. This is back in 2001, my second ever U.S. Open at Southern Hills. I was a production assistant, maybe an associate producer at the time, for ESPN. And it was my job to basically go out with a cameraman and shoot B-roll, shoot highlights out on the golf course. And I would write and produce features later in the day. Based on all the stuff that we found. And so Thursday had been delayed at Southern Hills. There was a weather delay. They were coming back very early Friday morning, dark 30, to finish up the first round. We got out there before the players did. We're talking, I couldn't even tell you, 5:30 in the morning. It's still dark out before anyone is out there. I get out there with my cameraman. We're going to follow a certain group on the, let's say 12th hole, whatever it might have been. We get out there and the cameraman says to me, I forgot a backup battery. Can you go back and get one for me? I said, sure. So I drive the cart through the golf course, beautiful summer morning. I get a battery. I start driving back. And for whatever reason, I'm a young kid that doesn't know a whole lot. And I'm pretty stupid. I still am, but I was really stupid back then. I decide, take a little shortcut, and I go down what's already a wet hill. It's wet in the morning, and it rained the day before. And it's about a 30 to 40 foot incline. And I decide to go diagonally down this incline. I get about halfway down it. The cart gets on two wheels. I jump out of the cart because my death was imminent. I mean, I was going down. Wow. I jump out of the cart. The cart flips over about 8 times, takes out the ropes, lands on its wheels in the fairway. Whatever fairway it was at Southern Hills, I wasn't really looking around to figure it out. I run down that wet hill. I fix the ropes. There's some divots taken out. I'm trying to fix them. I get in the cart. The cart drives away. I'm looking around the whole time. Not a single person was out there. Nobody saw it. In fact, I relayed that story yesterday to one of my coworkers who was working with me back then. And she said, I don't remember that story. And I said, yeah, there's a reason. Because I don't think I mentioned it to anyone all week. And I kept it to myself because I was so worried about getting in trouble.
Now that is epic. We get a first time, and you've told story. I mean, you've written on every media outlet. It seems like you've been everywhere over the last one, and you've never told that story anywhere publicly.
I don't believe I have.
How about that?
That's why get in trouble 24 years later.
That's why we love this show. I got to say this. Having been out at the U.S. Open last year, it was something that I always wanted to do, to go out to a final round of the U.S. Open. Was epic. The one thing that I learned at a golf tournament that day that I will never forget when going to a sporting event. Remember this. This is EC wisdom, and usually, Sia, you're the one with the wisdom, but I get to deviate here. When other people zig, you got to zag. I was trying to figure out where to sit on to get a view of the 18th hole. I wanted to get in those stands. I had like a corporate tent on the 18th, whatever, but you couldn't see anything couldn't see the green. So I see those stands up, and they always have the big risers at the U.S. Open, and they're full like halfway through the day. Well, I'm not going to sit out there and roast in the sun and the eastern humidity that I'm not used to. I'm not doing that. So I said, you know what? On Friday, when I was watching Tiger Woods finish up, when I was out there, I said on the first hole, they have the stands where you have a clear path to the 18th green. So I went out there about an hour before the final groups got there and got a view of watching everybody come in. And he was a little farther away, but on my phone, I have a video of Rory missing that putt and me cashing a nice win ticket with Bryson DeChambeau from the first tee. So when you're going out there, if you're going out there to Oakmont this weekend, zig or zag when other people zig or vice versa. Don't go with the followers. Always think differently. Sobel, you've been to enough, millions of golf tournaments. Like, you have to agree with me there, right?
First of all, that's good betting advice, too. When everyone zigs, you got to zag. I actually used that line in my preview this week. Secondly, yes, I agree with you. As far as getting onto 18, if you want to be there for the final, look, you're just going to deal with a whole lot of foot traffic there. There's going to be a lot of people that are trying to do the same thing. If you're going on, I don't know, anywhere from Wednesday to Sunday, but you just want to see golf, my advice is the same, whether it's Oakmont, whether it's Quail Hollow for the PGA, whether it's Augusta, wherever you're going. My advice is walk. Just go. Go as far as you can, because half the people there will get to the first hole, 18th hole, 9th hole, 10th hole, and stop. And they'll stop moving, and they'll get some beers, and they'll hang out, and they just won't keep walking. The further you go, the fewer people there are, and I just go as far out as you can, the better the views will be.
Great advice. And I think I got to 5 at Pinehurst last year, and I was like, all right, I'm turning around. This is far enough away. Great show as always, guys. See you. Before we go, the three of us are going to do the round 1 recap, I believe, on Thursday night. What else can you preview as far as shows coming up with Early Wedge this week?
Tomorrow at 4:00 is the live chat, and it's likely me and Rick. Sometimes, Jason, I know you're going to be busy tomorrow, but sometimes Mike McClure jumps in there, so we'll see. Don't forget, we have that MLB live show, but the Early Wedge tomorrow at 4:00 on the SportsLine YouTube channel. Then EC, like you said, we're actually doing round recaps for all the majors. So we're doing it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. I think, EC, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they're in like that 8:30 time frame when the round ends. Yep. And that's not really just a recap. It's also looking forward to the next round, or even in tomorrow's case, the next 3 rounds, and looking at live bets and maybe matchups that are coming out and things of that nature. So recap, kind of betting stuff as well. Keep it locked in. Maybe turn your notifications on to this channel and make sure you're subscribed to this channel as well. And then you can turn the notifications off after the week, but this would be a good week to turn your notifications on.
Don't turn them off. You always want to keep them on, but thank you for promoting that. And as Sia always likes to say, hit the like button. I mean, we want all the likes that we can get, but you guys in the chat have been phenomenal. Yeah. We really appreciate it. I love doing this show with you guys. Great intel. Sia and Sobel, you guys are golf betting geniuses as far as I'm concerned. So it's always great being on with you. For Jason Sobel, Sia Nejad, I'm Eric Cohen. As I always like to say, let's hit it big. Good luck.